Alright, here are the quiz 2 solutions. Let's see, in the first problem here, we're asked to add up two rational expressions. In your head, maybe you're thinking we're adding up two fractions. But the problem is these fractions don't have the same denominator, right? So it's one of the harder types of problems. But we can fix that. We can get a common denominator. And the way to see what the least common denominator is to factor both denominators. So this right here is a difference of squares. So we can rewrite that as x minus 5 times x plus 5. And then this one over here, let's see, that's a little trickier, but we could probably figure it out. Leading coefficient is 1, that's kind of nice. And then we need two numbers that multiply to be 5 and add to be 6. If you mess with that for a little while, I think you'll come up with 5 and 1. So another way of writing this problem is what we got here. And maybe here it's easier to see what the least common denominator is. We got a plus 5, an x minus 5 that's not over here. Maybe I'll put that in a different color. Let's multiply this side by x minus 5 over x minus 5. Now we got a plus 5, a minus 5, and a plus 1. Plus 5 minus 5, so we still need the plus 1. Something like that. And the advantage of what we've done here is now we have the same denominator on both sides. We got x plus 1 times x minus 5 times x plus 5. And up top, let's see, x times x plus 1 give us x squared plus x if you factor that through. And 2 times x plus 5 would give us 2x minus 10. And now if we combine like terms, you got x squared, let's see, x plus 2x is 3x, and this minus 10. And if you got to here, you're doing pretty good. Turns out there's still one more step we can do. This is the right answer in a sense, but it's just not simplified. If you look at the top here, we might be able to factor this out and cancel it with something on the bottom. So let's see, again, the leading coefficient is 1, which is nice. We need two numbers that multiply to be negative 10 and add to 3. So let's see, positive 5 and negative 2, I think will do the trick. And on the bottom, we still have this same denominator. And then we could take a look at this guy. But we got a x plus 5 on the top and an x plus 5 on the bottom. I think that's it. That's all we can cancel out. So our final answer is x minus 2 over x plus 1 times x minus 5. You could have foiled off the bottom if you want, but really, just extra work. I don't think it's any simpler. I'd leave it just like this. Is that good? That's the end of number 1. Number 2, we have one of those fractions and fractions. Let's see, what you might remember about this problem is it's not too bad if it's just one fraction divided by one fraction, but that's not the case here, right? Here we have a fraction minus a fraction divided by, you could think of this as a fraction minus a fraction. So what we got to do is get common denominators. Let's see, what we currently have, we could write like this. So all I've done is copied the problem, but instead of 1, I wrote 1 over 1, just so everything's written as a fraction. And then let's see here, what we're missing over here to get a common denominator would be the x, and what we're missing over here is a 7. So we multiply the top and the bottom here by x, and the top and the bottom here by 7, and the denominator is 7x in both cases. And then over here, the common denominator would just be 7. So we'll multiply the top and the bottom by 7. And see what we got. X times 1 is just x. 1 times 7, just 7. And on the bottom we have 7 times x. Over here, let's see, 7 times 1 is just 7 minus x. And then on the bottom we have 7. And this form is a lot better than this form because what we got here, instead of thinking about it as dividing two fractions, we think about it as multiplying two fractions. except you have to multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator here. So we flip this guy upside down right here. And what's good about this form, maybe I'll simplify one. Well, let's see, we can see you got a 7 here and a 7 here. Those will cancel out. And you kind of wish you could cancel out this x minus 7 and this 7 minus x, but you can't quite do it. The reason why, well, the trick to fix that is leave that one alone, but to turn, and we still have this x from here, but to turn this guy around, you have to pull out a -1. That makes that x minus 7. A little trick we did in class that shows this times this is the same as this. And if you're okay with that little trick, now you can cancel these guys out. And so things simplified kind of nicely here. We're just left with the 1 up top and an x times -1 on the bottom. I kind of like having the negatives up on the top, so I'd write it like this and call that the solution. And so that is the end of quiz 2.